order now that.
Okay, yes, we'll call to order at 6:02 now that we went. Thank you. All right. We have no public comment and we have no minutes to approve. So we will go right into Winchester High School with Chris Conway.
Good evening.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris. So we had a good meeting with VHB last week, and we discussed the direction that we're going to head in, or that they're proposing we head in for the drainage issues with the easterly side of the high school. They've got a to-do list of about 8 or 9 items, and they would involve a lot of the things that we've talked about before, but removing the rock that's in the outfall. One caveat that was thrown on that was potentially throwing a camera down there again, and to make sure in the last 2 years since the initial camera work was done, that it hasn't moved on its own. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing if it's moved to a position that's even less attractive. Repairing a break in the pipe that's in the same neighborhood up by Skillings Road, removing some roots, adding in one structure, softening the main line coming from C lot into B lot, enlarging some catch basins on Nelson Street, both on sort of lower Nelson and upper Nelson, and finally putting in a raised crosswalk, sort of like a speed table, just on the outside of the gate where the gate is currently, that would act as a water diverter largely, but without creating some other hassles, because it would be basically an even transition from sidewalk to sidewalk, without a down and an up and a down and an up again. So those would, the proposed work would occur over the summer. Impact to the parking lot would be relatively minimal. There would be some pavement work in the northwest corner of B lot. There would be obviously some pavement work on the outside of the school property, where the speed table would be, or the hump. And potentially, if they can't move the rock, there may need to be, again, this would be off school property, but there would be potentially some excavation required to get it out of the pipe. If it is still where it is, where it was, which is roughly on the center line of Skillings Road, underneath. I think that's the long and short of it. Pretty good meeting. I think they had a lot of good proposed resolutions to a lot of these issues. We still have some concerns over overtopping of the curb on Nelson Street in the event of a really significant event, and it being able to come in through the grass. But I think all of the pieces put together will make a much better picture. Largely being the softening of the water change of direction. Right now the main line has a very aggressive change of direction out near Nelson Street. It has to almost come back 180 degrees on itself, and obviously that's not very attractive in the fluid dynamics aspect of it. So what they're proposing would soften that and have less counterflow from 2 or 3 different lines. So I think that's sort of the long and short of where we are right now. I think all good opportunities with minimal impact to the school grounds.
Chris Nixon has a question.
Yeah, just a quick one. I'm going to share a screen so everybody has this context. So Chris, when you talk about that speed table, so here's where the gates are at the back of the high school, right?
Yep, right where that crosswalk is, effectively.
Okay, so the question I had was, if we did some elevation, if there's a speed table that goes here, does that just mean we're buying ourselves a little time and water is collecting here until it spills over? Or is the goal to actually direct storm water down Nelson Street to a different set of collection, storm sewer infrastructure?
So there's several mitigation methods being put in place. If you move your cursor, Chris, up to right where Nelson and Spruce meet, you'll see the white stop line.
Yep.
Right above that is a catch basin.
Okay.
Proposed is to expand on that catch basin as well as the catch basins down on Nelson, sort of in the lower, you can actually see it in those two right there.
Right there. Got it.
Yep. Expanding those to doubles with also curb cuts, the curb relief to handle as much volume and to be as tolerant as possible with debris. Debris is typically the enemy of us when we have these issues, and it's debris that floats down Nelson Street from Washington Street.
Got it. So enlarging the one on Spruce Street, then that's going to catch storm that's just sheet draining down this way, right? Left to right?
Actually, the one at the other, no, it's the other stop line to the north of where you are, and it's what's coming down that hill. Right there, right where you're circling, there's one there, and that would also be enlarged to do the same. Where it's not a forced drain because it's going to run sort of past it, where the ones that are down on the lower end, by doubling them along the curb, gives much more volume. It's not as effective, but it is giving Nelson Street some ability to be a little bit more sump-like and less of an opportunity for the water to just crest and head right into the high school property.
Got it.
Since that's where the video has shown some pretty good evidence that we typically do not experience issues in C-Lot until the street crests. When we are just handling sort of our own water, the water just generating from the rain or runoff, we're fine. It's once that hill or that entrance at the gate crests, it's just so much water coming in. So this will address a lot of those flow issues, is what the proposal is from VHB, to address a lot of those flow issues. And again, by softening the flow direction in the B lot right off the corner of Nelson Street.
Yeah. Okay.
Chris, are these all or none? Or are they a segment that you take the first one, then you try the second one, then the third? Do we need to do them all?
The majority, I think some of the things could be a onesie, twosie, one-off type thing, like the removal of the rock, the repair of the broken pipe, the removal of the roots. But I think based on the discussions with them, and the speed table could be as well. But I think once we start to get into the drainage work, it sort of is a package deal to all really be effective.
Yep.
And then
that's the major part of the project anyways, is that I would say.
My last question for Chris was that you were saying the rock we're dealing with, that's under Skilling somewhere, right? That's
correct. There's two outfalls. If you move the screen, go the other way, Chris. If you come down to where the path crosses the Skilling's Road, right by the Jenks, there's a little island. If you stop right there, right above the center of the screen, right north of the blue and yellow balloon-looking thing.
Yeah, this must have been ink up there.
Yep. Right where that crosswalk is, just a little north and to the right, you'll see a small little island up in the off the road. There's a manhole cover right there, and from that manhole cover is two outfall pipes that go into the pond. One of which has this rock that's probably 30 to 40% the size of the pipe sitting in it. Probably 30 to 40%. So there is still another, and there's still at least 50% of that pipe. But we're handling an awful lot of water coming down out of from up there.
Okay. Well, sounds like a bunch of good options. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's and it's also relatively low impact to the school property. One area in particular, that northwest corner of B lot, would require some excavation, and then obviously where the speed table goes would have to be saw cut and replaced. But not bad options. And I think all of the pieces added up, I think will give us some good, some good protection. Nothing's 100%, but I think it's pretty attractive.
And Chris, I know Meg had a family issue come up, so she couldn't be with us tonight. You don't need any specific authorizations from us tonight for this, right? You're all set?
Sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I know they've given us a price estimate, really budgetary at this time, but I'm not sure how far Meg has taken that.
Meg said if you wanted to share that estimate, we could vote on it just as a budget to get it moving.
Okay.
The estimate is for design, correct, Chris? So we have bid documents?
No, they've done the design. The estimate is for the work. But they were going back to the drawing board for a couple of corrections that were raised during the meeting. I'm not sure if they've come back to Meg with an updated version of that.
No.
Probably not significant changes, but there were just a couple of assumptions they had made that they had to adjust.
All right, why don't we hold this for next week then and have it in writing so everyone has a chance to look at it? Yeah.
That's a good idea.
All right, we'll hold it, even if we have to just have a quick meeting without the lynch, just to get that going. So we'll hold on that. Anything else, Chris? Any update on the interior items?
No. And special counsel is working with SG&H on finalizing the transmittal of information to Consigli and all.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Sure.
Moving on to Lynch, MSBA update, and Vivian, you're going to take that?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give you a quick update that we have submitted the PSR. We have responded also to comments from the MSBA, and upcoming is our facilities assessment review scheduled for the 30th of this month.
Okay. It was quick and to the point. And WPS community meeting and logistics. Frank, are you going to handle that?
Sure, I can start it. So we'll be bringing together a group of parents and teachers, as well as at least one administrator. Likely in about a week and a half, I have been able to kind of narrow down with some help, some suggestions of people who would be interested. So we'll be gathering them. I've asked at least for TAPE to be present at the first session, just to kind of go over the phasing, the logistics, and really the discussion and input would be focused in and around if we were at minimum to remove eight classrooms, general education classrooms from the site. What do people think would make sense in terms of the grade levels that would be involved in that? And just really trying to get some direct line feedback from both teachers and parents on that question specifically, but I also to kind of build a little bit of a core group who has a more intimate knowledge of what that phasing looks like and what the logistics look like, and how the project will impact the site, so that they can also be able to inform people they know, from staff to also to other parents. So that's in process, and it should not really calling it a task force, hoping it's going to be fairly short, a couple of meetings at most. And again, it's really an input process at this point.
Okay, thank you. Chris, did you want to share the draft warrant? Or you're on mute. You're muted, Chris.
All right, sorry, I got
there you
two
go.
windows open. There we go. Yeah, so I was trying to have this ready for our discussion later. I didn't realize I was still throwing that up. So let me pull this up. So this is the This is the draft articles that were submitted for the warrant after last week's meeting. That first one was pretty much as we had discussed. And then that idea of the second one, you know, that if the first one fails, you pivot to article number, we call it right now, article number 2, that looks for money for design and engineering for alterations necessary for Parkhurst. So that would include literally stuff we need to do to the permanent building. It could include modulars. It could include the things that Charlie described at the last meeting, you know, so if we need to redesign the parking lot or the fuel tank storage, what have you, so that if in fact Article 1 should fail at town meeting, we can still get the design team going on this. So presumably, you know, the day after a successful debt exclusion override in January, there's a package that Meg can get out on the street because time is going to become really critical here if Frank is looking to have kids off site by the fall of 23. I think this is a really good idea that that John Miller had at the last meeting. So that's kind of what it looks like. And TAP A, I guess, I know Charlie's with us. TAP A is still working on pulling together some estimates for this stuff, which kind of comes next as we develop some motion language. So that remains to be sort of seen. And then Jay, you're going to be coming to school committee tomorrow night, right? If you want to talk about that.
First, John Miller has a question, Chris.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, could you distribute that draft? Because I've been looking for a draft. I thought we were going to get a draft from Meg last Thursday, and apparently you got a draft, Chris. But that's good.
Is this, Chris, the one that actually, this is from, that went to bond? Is this actually the final draft?
I believe so. You know, I literally took a red eye back. I mean, Friday I saw an email from Meg saying this is what I'm submitting. So I believe this is correct. Meg's not with us right now, John, in the meeting. So
well, we voted
let's go back and confirm with her.
We voted that we gave Jay the authority to finalize this draft.
Right.
So Jay's just seeing it for the first time.
No, I was on this. I just don't know if the one he brought up here is the last one I saw, John.
Okay. All right.
I can't tell by.
John, I'm just sharing it because I've got share screen here. So I wanted to just share this with you guys. So Jay,
there were a few different back and forth, and I'll pull out the final one that was approved and I'll distribute that tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so that the last one, because that's not dated. So I would just want to make sure I have the right one, and I'll send that out.
That's good.
Chris, like you said, I'll be attending tomorrow night at the school committee. We want to emphasize on the master plan, the goals of the Parkhurst. Also inside on the original goals of the Parkhurst, I want to say, from back when we did Ambrose. So this is not a surprise to anyone. This has been in the works for a long time to get this done. So, and we need it for swing space also. So.
And I think a part of that discussion too is going to be about both Frank's and the school committee's appetite, though nobody has a crystal ball. But just as we leased the Mystic School today, and we have been for 20 years, I mean, the lower part of it, by the way, rec, of course, that's the top floor. What is the school committee or superintendent's appetite for leasing Parkhurst? That's an important element in all of this, because the plan can be convincing and make a lot of sense, but it's going to cost money. So where does the money come from? So that's going to be an important part of the conversation tomorrow night as well.
Yes, definitely. John Miller again?
Yeah, couple pieces of feedback from FinCom. We met last Thursday. Couple of members raised, well, after this Parkhurst swing space is done and no swing space is needed at Morocco, is it time to sell Parkhurst, the land? That was one question for development. Another question was one of the members of FinCom was unsure what the school department, they couldn't figure out how all of Lynch is going to fit into Parkhurst. So I had a specific question to the superintendent. I'm new to this committee, so I know that only half of Lynch is moving to Parkhurst, but I don't understand the mechanics.
Not even that, 2 grade levels.
Okay.
But John, so that to your first question about, so basically accessing or surplusing the building, so the property could be sold. This is one of the questions we're going to talk about tomorrow. The way it needs to be framed is what is the plan, to the extent there is one, after Lynch kids move out, end of, let's say, May or June, right, of 2025? And the school committee could choose several paths. We could, number one, say, we have no use for this building. We're going to access the building. And then it goes to the select board to decide what to do with it, which could include, as you suggest, selling it. School committee can't really sell a building. At least I don't think we can. We would just give it to the town. But we could also say, we don't want to do that. We want to hang on to it. So why would we want to hang on to it? We could hang on to it because we think we want to send students and staff there for something. That's really for Frank to speak to operationally. We could say we want to mothball the building again. We've done it 3 times already. Or we could say, well, we don't really want to mothball the building because bad things happen when we mothball buildings. We'd like to use it. We'd like to see it be used. And if we don't have any particular use for it, maybe it's an opportunity to generate some income. Those are really the questions that are going to come to the table. I mean, I have my own strong opinion about it, John, particularly about the idea of surplusing the property, but I'm just one member. I'm not the committee, so I don't want to speak for the committee. But I think we're going to get into all of that tonight. Tomorrow night. And that's, by the way, going to be, we think that starts around 5:30 at Parkhurst.
I don't know if it's possible. Charlie, could you give a real quick description of how, for John, especially since he wasn't here, on how why we're only taking certain grade levels out, and basically for the parking area and to relieve the property over at Lynch? Is there a real high up level you could give?
Yeah,
so
the premise is that in order to operate the Lynch so we're taking the entire parking lot for the construction enclosure. We're taking the eastern pickup drop-off loop, and we're taking the parking along the eastern pickup drop-off loop as part of the construction area. So in order to, and that's going to cut parking from 90 spaces down to, I think, 30. And the school right now requires something, it's hard to tell precisely, but between 70 and 80 spaces. If we take 2 grades off-site, then we reduce the need for staff parking. In addition, if we take two grades off-site, we just reduce general traffic. We think that if we had an early enabling package that removed the end of the building as its own separate, that took 2 grades out and removed 8+, we're not sure how many, but probably more than 8 classrooms, we would be able to create a temporary parking area at the eastern end of the existing school that would accommodate, we said 50, we would hope maybe more than that, 50, 60, 70 parking spaces that would allow the school to operate during the construction period. So that was the premise.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Charlie.
And of course, that the other premise was, well, gee, that's the option A. The option A approach is 2 grades, which is what would fit in the Parkhurst. And the option B approach, which is building modulars, 8 classrooms, is already still $2 million. So, it's a wild guess, plus all the modifications and improvements, which is going to push it up to closer to 3 million. So it's an expensive proposition, and the more students we try to get off the Lynch site, the more the costs go up. So we were trying to limit the impact and trying to limit how much swing space we had to create while still making the Lynch site actually work during construction. So it's sort of a balancing act, I guess.
But optimum is to get 12 classrooms out.
Right. So in an ideal world, you get everyone off site, but there's not an obvious, the optimum though would be, I think if we could get 3 grades, that's even better, but there's no clear path to get the whole school off site.
Okay. Any other questions, John Miller?
No, FinCom, of course, wants, budgets and what estimates and the two alternatives and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and they are working on that. So, okay. Anything else on the Lynch? From Charlie's, we're going to move into the authorizations, which we have a discussion on the well field.
Yeah, do we have any OPM or TAP A authorizations tonight, Jay? I didn't know we
Meg
did.
said no. So Vivian, do you have anything else you sent?
We had sent in a authorization for payment for the OPM invoice, but I'll double check with Meg if she has it.
Yeah, it didn't get sent to me for the meeting. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Let me, while you introduce this, Jay, let me go look for
Yes.
the, let me look for the well field information so I can pull that up on screen for everybody in a moment.
So Meg cannot be here tonight, but she sent this ahead. Items 2 and 3, I hope everyone had a chance to read it. We were expecting these. It's not any surprise. This would enable us to get the permitting underway in case there was a delay in permitting the wellfield area. So has everyone had a chance to read it? Are there any questions on it?
Got this up on screen for everybody too. This came from VHB, I think, right, Jay?
Let's see. I think it's titled. Yeah, maybe at the end it
Yeah,
has.
I think it's from VHB. I mean, they're mentioned. in
Right, it's
here,
an
but-
excerpt from, I'm pretty sure they were doing it.
Yeah.
But the second and third items,
So is it the permit application, Jay? So the town was already going to take care of the asbestos pipe removal, right?
Right.
1.0.
right, so
And so
there would
we're-
be the permit application and the survey for the remaining wells. Does anyone have, Geetha has a question on this. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just had a clarification question, Jay. I guess I was just looking at the asbestos removal. Could that happen before they locate the well? That's the part I wasn't quite clear. I guess at the end of the thing, we wanted to close it with the DEP, correct? So in order to initiate the permit application, in my mind, I was thinking, oh, okay, they have to locate all the wells, or can they, sort of the
Geeta, I can tell you, these pipes are literally stacked between the foundation of the original pump house and the brook. So they're actually totally away from the wells. The wells are all, if you look at the site plan, we're all familiar with Plan North, right? The wells are all to the left or west of the pump house on 3 different lines. The pipes are all stacked basically on top of the foundation, if not to the right. So they don't seem to be anywhere near the field of wells.
Okay, so they can happen independently. So the permit application that's on its own, it can go through DEP. So if you go to item 3, Chris, right?
Yep.
So they kind of said, okay, when they came for the first round, they couldn't locate all of the wells. Now we have to go through geophysical and they're trying to locate them, right? So what's the scenario if I'm just trying to, at the end of the game, we want to close it, correct? So with the GPR, they couldn't close it. Then what are we up to? What are we up against? With
I think-
the,
If they find more pipes, clearly
find more
number
wells.
1 is only for the pipes that they've seen so far. It's 1 day of removal for the pipes that they've isolated, and the town is picking up item 1. So if there were more pipes found,
Item 2, Jay, to close it with the DEP, they're supposed to locate all the wells, right?
right? But if more are found, then if they find more under item 3, then number 1 will change and be in a change order to that, because that's only for the pipes that they clearly see stacked up, that they've noticed those pipes. So if more pipes are found, they'll have to come back, and item 1 will have to change if they find more pipes. But I don't think the asbestos was buried. Correct, Chris? That was all surface pipe.
Yeah, I mean, the pipe we know about, it's literally a stack of pipe that's
Right.
just laying on the ground. There may be asbestos pipe in the ground, but I don't know that. I don't know that anybody knows that. But number one speaks to a pile of pipe that's asbestos that's
Right.
just sitting in the woods that the town has already agreed they'll pick up the cost of cleaning that up.
Mark had a question, and then
Yeah,
Brian.
I think Gita was just asking
Yeah,
if the wells, forget about the asbestos pipe, if all the wells
correct.
aren't found based on that old drawing, you know, they find 20 wells and there were 24 on the drawing, how do we close out the permit? Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So I just want to have the logic. Yes. In other words, let's leave the asbestos aside. That's fine. They would have a change order. But I was sort of dwelling between item 2 and item 3. What's the smartest way to initiate the permit application? As far as VHP and DEP concerned in the town, I guess we have a plan with the 25 wells and we want the site to be free of the water wells, right? So right now, I wasn't quite clear from this how many they have found and how many left to be found using item 3. So item 3 is the geophysical survey. Let's say 25 for discussion. They come with item 3 and find only 10. Is VHB still going to file the permit, or is town has a say to say what's the smartest way to do it? You see what I'm saying? Anyway,
Yes.
so I'm okay with this memo, Jay. I just wanted to have some scenario in my mind. What is the best way to initiate the permit and close the permit, and we just walk away, the site is closed?
Right.
all.
That's going to be a conversation with Meg as she's dealing with VHB.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I see
Okay.
your point now that,
Yeah,
Right.
but let's just approve this, but I just had it in my mind, just to echo that thought, that's all.
Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, so I know we did an environmental assessment of the Lynch site as part of the PDP, but I don't think this site was part of that at that time, since it wasn't part of the original parcel. Do we need to do that? Is that an important part of this process to get a phase 1 ESA?
Charlie?
Charlie question?
Yes, I believe so.
You're asking in order for us to have a phase 1 ESA?
Right, because I don't think we have one for this site,
We do
for
not.
this parcel.
That is correct.
So do we need to do that so that we're in process and that's not an item holding us up at any point? So that's take another $2,000.
I don't know the answer. I mean, we can ask, if VHB is, do you want, my question is whether you would be paying twice for the same thing. Well, they're going to so what they would do is they would identify that issue, right? And it would be in the report as part of the phase 1 ESA, right? Is that correct? But that's what VHB is doing, and VHB is responsible for the proposed remediation, which is essentially just removing loose pipe, right? Which is laying there.
So my question
is,
maybe not even relevant because I'm coming at it from a commercial perspective, but anytime there's a conveyance of a parcel, you get a phase 1 to protect you from backwards from CERCLA liability. But any insurance or lender or anyone I ever deal with asks for that. And obviously there's no lender here, and I don't know if the CERCLA legislation applies in the same way, but anytime a parcel is conveyed, you need a phase 1 in my world. So that's just my question here relative to future insurance needs for the school, since we did a phase 1 for the main parcel, and now we're adding a parcel to the site. If we just need to get this additional report, which follows their standards of practice for a phase 1 ESA. I just don't know. So
I kind of feel like I kind of feel like we should ask VHB first, but certainly Weston and Sampson could do it. It's just I just don't think you want to pay twice for the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question though, Brian.
Yep.
So maybe Jay maybe we could follow up with Meg on this.
Meg,
after the
yep,
meeting
I'm going to
tonight.
write a memo. We'll have her check on that. Okay. Any other questions on this? And
So
if
Jay,
not,
is Meg looking for us to authorize?
she'd like a motion to authorize item 2 and 3, if everyone's in favor of it.
So I move to authorize Meg White on behalf of the town to engage VHB for professional services on the Lynch project as indicated under 2.0 and 3.0 in the amount of $7,500 as presented.
Second.
Geetha, thank you, Geetha.
Mhm.
I need a roll call. All right, Geetha, Mark?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Colleen?
Aye.
Frank?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
And I just lost the screen. So John
Sorry,
Miller?
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, Jay.
John Miller was next?
Yes, yes,
I'm sorry.
Okay, John?
yes.
Okay, Lisa?
Yes.
All right, so moved, all in favor. Thank you. I'll get that over to Meg. Okay, is there any new business? We already discussed going to the school committee tomorrow night. Anyone have anything they would like to bring up? Okay. Next meeting is the 21st that we're holding still for next Monday. Looks like we'll probably just have, maybe we won't need Tapé and Hill, be just high school issues. If we can get them cleared up, a quick meeting. If they have the information by then.
There might be a potential for some invoices. for
Yes,
as well.
invoices, okay. Open invoices.
We might have an answer to Brian Carlisle's question by then too. So we'll maybe figure that out in the next couple of days, maybe.
Yes. Okay. Anyone have anything else? Went kind of quick. I don't know if we're missing anything.
I do, Jay.
Okay, go ahead, John.
I've been nosing around a little bit, and there's a lot of vendors out there for modulars, and I found a few that will rent. So I just wanted to raise that with Charlie. There's one called Box Modular that they'll rent you or they'll sell you modulars. So I think we ought to be an adult when we're evaluating what we ought to do. And I can send a couple links around. I'll send them to you, Jay, and you can distribute. But
All of our quotes are from rentals, John.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they're permanent. They're the installation is done, but all the rentals, just like the high school, are rentals per month, per year.
Okay, good. Great.
With allowances for things like, I mean, it's not endless, but there's an allowance in there for installation, a certain amount of power, connection to a pole, a certain amount of water, connection to utilities, within reason.
Yep.
And then of course, site removal, site restoration. I look at these numbers, John, and I feel like, I picked the wrong career.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they only, we might have to, we have a 10-year life on them, and we've exceeded that on a few of ours already, so.
They last longer than the buildings do.
Right. Okay.
Jay, I was
Anything
just
else?
gonna
Yes, go ahead.
say that you and I spoke today, and it sounds like there are a bunch of members that have some pretty insane deadlines going on. So we're gonna push back the sustainability subcommittee meeting until the week of, I think it's April 14th, April 10th. So I'll send around some new dates for that. But I think that we would just have it be straightly the subcommittee, and I don't think that we need the design team at that meeting, just so we can kind of organize around our goals in the subcommittee, sustainability and otherwise. And then our next meeting could be with the design team, because I know they've got a big push.
Yes, thank you. That'd be great to help everyone out. Busy few weeks. Okay, anything else? Get a motion to close?
I think Brian and
Yeah,
John still have their hands
Oh, I
up.
cannot see their hands. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Brian?
I had offered to write a draft of the background for the articles. I don't know if that's helpful or necessary, but I'm happy to take a stab at the draft. Should I do that? And is there any guidelines to reference in doing that?
So there are some guidelines, but I think we got to get to the motion language first, Brian. So maybe we take note, you're willing to chip in. It could be a group effort, but I think we're just not there. We got to figure out, we got to pin down the costs, funding source, get through the it's literally article, motion, and background. So I think we'll get there. And Meg, I think Meg was sharing with us a couple of days ago. We have a couple of weeks maybe. I mean, it's going to go fast, but
Yep.
We have a little bit of time.
Okay, I'm happy to help if that's helpful. Just someone give me a heads up when the time's right.
Thank you. Thank you,
I
Brian.
appreciate that.
John Miller?
No. I'm sorry, I didn't take my hand back down.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, Mark. Geetha?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Pauline?
Aye.
Frank?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
John Miller?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
John Saliano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moved.
Good luck tomorrow, Jay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Nice meeting,
luck.
guys. Good
Good night, everyone.
Night.